Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Cyclic Hotline and this will be a definitive guide to becoming a HEMS pilot in the UK in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Outside of flight simulation, I'm a real-world air ambulance pilot in the UK across multiple types including the H145. This video will make up day one of your training to become a unit pilot. Doesn't matter where you pick to be your local base, all the tools you get in this course will be relevant anywhere. This course does not teach you how to fly the H145 or general aviation regulation outside of HEMS operations. As a pilot new to the unit, you're expected to come with this level of experience. This will guide you through the day-to-day life of a HEMS pilot. Now, before you can go running to your aircraft and get going on a shout, you'll need to do a walk around and then possibly one of the most crucial parts of the day, the morning brief. So once all your morning checks are done, you're going to come into the crew room and sit down in a space much like this one. Here you're going to discuss everything that's going to be pertinent to the day's shift. Now, each air ambulance base and unit will have their own way of doing this, but most, if not all, will take from the mated style of brief. We're going to explore this brief in detail and discuss all the points that we need to cover before being ready to be tasked as an air ambulance. Mated is a useful acronym standing for Meteorology, Aircraft, Threats, Exercises, and Duties. The first topic, arguably the biggest, most important, and most complex, is the meteorology for the day. For this example, we're going to base ourselves out of Cardiff Heliport and look at the weather for the area today. Now, as a specialised aviation operation, we have some specialised meteorological tools available to us. Here I'll be showing you a couple of these charts that we'll use day to day, but I'll also show you how you can get this sort of information for yourselves at home. Now I'm recording this video on the 10th of January 2025, and the first thing I'm going to look at is an overview surface pressure for Europe. So what I'm seeing here is a high pressure sat just above the north of Scotland and a low pressure out in the Atlantic. And what these are doing is they are going to be pushing two quite close occluded fronts towards the UK. So I'm expecting fairly stable conditions over the majority of the country, but as the day goes on, I'm expecting those fronts to come through and bring with it some rain. The next chart available to us is the low-level significant weather chart or low-level forecast chart. So this is a slightly more zoomed-in version of the surface chart we just had a look at, but now this is going to come with a few areas and it's going to detail some of the weather we're going to experience. So based out of Cardiff, we can see that we're going to be in Zone A. A1 looks like it will be pushed through earlier. Zone A comes with no significant weather really. Isolated showers of rain and snow. Few and scattered cloud from cumulus and scattered, possibly with some moderate icing and turbulence. The 0 degree isotherm, so our freezing level, is down at about 0 degrees of the coast and of the land, 1,500 to 3,000 feet, somewhere in there. What's coming, though, is these occluded fronts, which is the area C and C1. Looking down there, mostly 25 kilometres, no serious weather. Widespread at the front, 6 kilometres in rain, light rain and drizzle. Isolated 4,000 metres, rain and snow over land in the C1 area. And I would expect that on higher ground. Looking at the cloud, widespread, broken and overcast, outer stratus, with moderate to severe icing in C1 in the higher altitudes. And once again, quite low freezing levels. If you want this sort of briefing tool for yourself, there are some free ones available from the UK's Met Office in their General Aviation division. So searching in this rather long-winded link, which I will put into the description, will take you to a litany of briefing charts, the surface pressure charts that we looked at, and also there is a map in here, a handy map for all your TAFs and METARs, which you can click on each individual station and see exactly what the weather is around the bazaars. With that, we've completed the overall picture of the Met, and now it's on to talking about the METARs and TAFs. So looking at the overall picture again, we can see the occluded fronts with their precipitation making their way in from the southwest. We've got Cardiff International Airport as our nearest selected, and we can have a look at that to give a good idea of what we can accomplish today. So Cardiff's METAR is giving automatically generated easterly winds, 9 knots, all the nines in visibility, no cloud detected, 2 degrees, 0 dew point, and a QNH of 1018. Good enough to dispatch on HEMS, not a problem. Our forecast, the TAF, was made at 5 o'clock this morning. The main body is easterly winds, light winds, all the nines, few at 4,500 feet. Tempo for the morning, 7Ks, and a Prop 30 tempo for the morning up until 8 o'clock. 4Ks mist, and Prop 30 isn't until tomorrow morning. So there could be a chance of some low-lying mist early on in the day, but actually not much of a problem. And seemingly these showers that are coming from the occluded front might hit Western Wales and not really affect us in Cardiff too much. So good enough to dispatch, but expecting that there might be some showers up in the hills in the Brecon Beacons. Remember to check the METARs and TAFs of surrounding airports as well, because they might give you a better idea of other areas of your patch which you may struggle to get to, or areas of clearance of weather where you might be able to escape to. Next on the agenda is mountain weather, if it's applicable to your area. The UK government has the Mountain Weather Information Service, which you can access with the link here. I'll put it in the description as well. On this page, you'll find useful information for mountainous areas all over the UK. In particular, these charts offer some useful information such as how much widespread fog and cloud you might find on the summits of the peaks. Next up is sunrise and sunset times. We don't have NVG in Microsoft Flight Simulator, so we're only going to be conducting HEMS by day. We need to know when the sun will set and when we're no longer capable of conducting a HEMS landing. For this, we can use a website such as timeanddate.com and note the sunrise and sunset times. Remember, for aviation, there is known as civil twilight. So it's still officially day half an hour before sunrise and half an hour after sunset. So in this case, taking today's data, we can conduct a HEMS landing between the hours of 0744 local and 1656 local hours. Lastly is the local freezing level. At the time of recording, there are no HEMS units and HEMS helicopters in the UK that carry icing clearance, and so have to avoid it entirely. What we're looking for in the weather is anywhere where there is a 0 degree isotherm or less, and low visibility and precipitation. Today, we don't look like we're going to encounter any of that, and any of the showers we do have, we'll be able to avoid if necessary. Meteorology is by far the biggest topic that we cover in our morning brief. It's essential that we get it correct and constantly review the forecasts just in case there's any change. If you've made it this far, congratulations, well done, take a breather. The rest of the morning brief is nowhere near as arduous. Next, we're going to be talking about the aircraft that we're flying today. We've done our morning checks and hopefully all is well with the aircraft. If defects have been found, they need to be reported. Some defects you can fly with. These are listed in the minimum equipment list, but they may affect our operation. Are we limited to flying day only? Can we only fly VFR? We'll talk about maintenance. When is the next scheduled maintenance due? We will have calculated our centre of gravity, the fuel load we're going to be able to take for the day, and therefore our payload. This is particularly important for our performance class 1 calculations, which we discussed in another video. Next, we'll talk about the threats to aviation. We'll begin with NOTAMs, or Notice to Airmen. These are reported threats that might pose a risk to aircraft. This can vary from cranes, unserviceable ILSs, obstacle lights out, to danger areas and restricted areas which are active. You can use a website such as notaminfo.com, which is good for UK mapping, and you can see something like the Pemdine danger area is active today, and we would need to get clearance to cross it. Next up, revolve more around human factors. This is crew resource management, CRM, fatigue risk management, FRM, and threat and error management, TEM. Now, this can be a lot more of a conversation between the crew rather than a brief. Have we all worked together before? Do we have someone new that's training and isn't used to our operations or used to the area? Do we have a new pilot? Is there training going on? How much sleep did you get last night? Has there been troubles at home which have been weighing on your mind? All these things come together and we discuss openly as a crew. And we end up with the result that is the threat and error management. How many of us are tired today? Is the weather bad and going to be challenging? Is there a high risk to our operations? If we discuss this at this stage, then we'll be able to better manage these threats and manage errors that might come up during the day. Next up is exercises. Is there any training ongoing today, or is there anything anybody would like to do? Does a pilot have currency issues, such as needing an instrument approach? We need 3 in 90 days. Or a night landing? We need 3 in 90 days. Or even an elevated pad. Any hospital pad over 3 meters high counts as an elevated pad, and you need to do 2 of them in a 12-month period. Is there any checking that needs to be done? Does a pilot have a flight check going to be conducted at the end of shift? Then we have our duties. What do we need to get done during the day? Maybe the base needs a clean. Well, we definitely need to do some things with the aircraft. We'll need to go and do our power checks to ensure our PC-1 performance. We'll do our daily checks, making sure that all our systems work, our hydraulics, our autopilot, our fire systems. We'll do a compressor wash, especially in the UK where we're surrounded by a salt-laden environment. We need to make sure that the engines are performing at the max capability. Therefore, we clean the compressor blades. Lastly, and not forming part of the mated brief acronym, is AOB. Any other business? Do we have any visitors that are coming around to have a look at the base? These could be past patients. This could be fundraisers for our charity. Are there any relevant aviation topics we wish to discuss? Maybe there's been an incident at a neighbouring unit where a drone got too close during operations. Let's discuss those threats. And anything miscellaneous towards the end, such as who's doing breakfast. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You've taken the first step in becoming a unit-based pilot in HEMS. The most important part of the morning is our morning brief to set us up for the day. Next time you decide to load up Microsoft Flight Simulator, you can use any, all, or none of this part of the brief. But if you're using real-life weather, I hope you'll find a lot of this very useful in planning how you'll be able to conduct HEMS. In the next video, we'll be going over some of the daily checks of the aircraft, some of the things that we do that enable us to do fast starts for the rest of the shift and forgo some of the checks that you would normally have to do in commercial air transport. Then we'll take off on a HEMS mission. Using good weather, we'll just simply talk about some of the decision-making tools we use during HEMS operations. Thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments below.